George Eliot, Middlemarch. Embark on a journey to the town of Middlemarch as we delve into George Eliot's acclaimed novel. This summary introduces you to the complex lives of its characters, their personal ambitions, and the romantic entanglements that ensue. Encounter Dorothea Brooke, an idealistic young woman whose misguided marriage to a much older man is far from what she envisioned. Meet the ambitious Dr. Tertius Lydgate and the beautiful yet superficial Rosamond Vincy, whose relationship becomes increasingly strained as they face the challenges of life. Witness the trials and tribulations faced by other residents of Middlemarch, whose fates intertwine as they navigate societal expectations and the constraints of their time.
A Marriage of Duty. Dorothea Brooke, a young and independent-minded woman, is pursued by two suitors, the jovial Sir James Chettam and the erudite Edward Casaubon. Her idealistic view of marriage leads her to accept Casaubon's offer, despite his age and dry personality. They quickly marry and set off on their honeymoon, where Casaubon seeks time for his research. However, their union surprises and appalls their friends and relatives. Dorothea's belief in marriage as a higher duty and Casaubon's quest for intellectual and spiritual insight make for a complicated marriage of duty. Middlemarch's political and romantic intrigues. Tertius is a young doctor who has moved to Middlemarch to escape London's professional jealousies and intrigues. He is passionate about combining scientific study and discoveries with charity, but his first experience with the political minefield of small-town Middlemarch occurs when he has to choose a curate for the new hospital against his convictions. Meanwhile, Rosamond is keen to marry Tertius as she believes it will elevate her social status. Tertius enjoys flirting with Rosamond, but his research is too important to get married soon. Dorothea, on the other hand, falls out of love with Casaubon, her husband, after realizing that her hopes and dreams were just an illusion. She then spends time with Casaubon's young cousin, Will Ladislaw, who falls in love with her. As the story unfolds, readers witness the intriguing political and romantic plots that envelop the lives of the book's characters. Love, money, and misfortune. Fred Vincy's financial woes lead to a string of unfortunate events as characters in different plot lines grapple with love, money, and their consequences. Fred Vincy's run of bad luck begins when he fails his theology exam, leaving him in debt after borrowing money from local horse dealer Mr. Bambridge to hire horses. He then injures one of the horses and can't afford to pay for its medical expenses. To make matters worse, he's in love with Mary Garth, Caleb's daughter, who rejects him due to his frivolous nature. Meanwhile, Dr. Lydgate's status in the community rises after curing Fred of typhus, leading to jealousy among established doctors in the area. Lydgate becomes engaged to Rosamond after a misunderstanding, but their relationship takes a tumultuous turn as he sees it as a pleasant diversion while she's already planning their future home. Dorothea and Casaubon return from Rome only to learn that Chettam and Celia are engaged. Casaubon becomes increasingly anxious about his work, and Dorothea feels like a burden to him. When Ladislaw asks if he can visit, Dorothea's temper snaps, causing Casaubon to fall ill. While Lydgate treats him, Dorothea asks Brooke to write to Ladislaw, but he invites him to stay with him instead. Featherstone's impending death adds another layer of complexity as Mary becomes his carer. Mary learns that he's written 2 wills and wants to destroy the second one. After refusing to touch anything to avoid suspicion of money grabbing, Featherstone dies that night, leaving everyone to deal with the aftermath. Throughout the story, the characters grapple with love, money, and the consequences of their actions. No one is immune, and misfortune can strike anyone at any time. This compelling narrative is a reminder to weigh the potential consequences of one's actions before acting on impulse. Unexpected inheritance. Featherstone's illegitimate son inherits the family fortune, leaving the rest of the family empty-handed. Meanwhile, Casaubon's dislike of Ladislaw intensifies, leading him to order him to leave Middlemarch. Ladislaw settles as a newspaper editor unbeknown to Dorothea. Featherstone's family gathers for the will reading, only to find out that Featherstone's illegitimate son, Joshua Rigg, is the sole recipient of Featherstone's fortune. Mary feels responsible for Fred's misfortune as she refused to destroy the second will, in which Fred and the rest of the family are left empty-handed. However, Chettam offers Garth the job of managing both his and Mr. Brooks' estates, ending Garth's financial problems while Mary stays in Middlemarch. In the meantime, Casaubon's hostility towards Ladislaw deepens, leading him to order him to leave Middlemarch. Ladislaw, however, finds a job as a newspaper editor thanks to Brooks' purchase of the newspaper. Casaubon believes that Ladislaw is trying to win Dorothea so that he can inherit her money after Casaubon's death. Love and loss. Newly-wedded Lydgate and Rosamond experience strains in their relationship due to differences in ambitions and financial struggles. Dorothea and Casaubon grow more estranged, leading to a final confrontation after his death. Dorothea inherits his estate but is bound by a clause that forbids her from marrying Ladislaw. Fred Vincey's love for Mary is complicated by his lack of ambition, prompting him to seek help from his vicar friend. Middlemarch's complicated relationships. After a failed attempt at politics, Brooke and Ladislaw give up their careers but face difficult decisions in their personal lives. Meanwhile, Bulstrode's past comes back to haunt him, causing him to make amends. Fred accepts a job with Garth, while Lydgate and Rosamond's relationship takes a drastic turn. Ladislaw spends time with Rosamond and learns about Casaubon's addendum to the will, leading to misunderstandings with Dorothea and Rosamond's mistaken beliefs. Bulstrode's dark past. While trying to manage their finances, Lydgate's wife, Rosamond, secretly writes to Lydgate's uncle for money. But instead of replying to her, he sends a scathing letter to Lydgate, causing him to turn to Bulstrode for financial help. Bulstrode agrees to lend him the money but makes a deal with Raffles to leave Middlemarch and never come back. However, Garth picks up Raffles, who is delirious with drink, and puts him up in one of Bulstrode's properties. To keep his past a secret, Bulstrode spends nights watching over Raffles. When Lydgate comes to check up on Raffles, Bulstrode gives him the money he needs and writes him a check for £1,000. But during the third night, to get rid of Raffles, Bulstrode agrees to give him alcohol through his housekeeper. As a result, Raffles dies and Bulstrode's past, along with the payment to Lydgate, sparks rumors that he paid Lydgate to kill Raffles, making both men outcasts in Middlemarch. Note, the word count of the summary is 164 words. Dorothea's sacrifices. Dorothea steps in to aid Lydgate, her friend, paying off his debt while trying to salvage his marriage with Rosamond. In her attempt to help, she visits Rosamond but finds her sitting intimately with Ladislaw. Crushed, Dorothea decides to abandon personal happiness but takes an about-turn after talking to Rosamond, who confesses Ladislaw's true love for Dorothea. Ladislaw, however, is not pleased with the situation and expresses his anger towards Rosamond. In an unexpected turn of events, Dorothea breaks down and confesses her love for Ladislaw, defying the disapproval of Middlemarch society, and they get married. In the end, Lydgate and Rosamond move away from Middlemarch, Lydgate dies young, and Fred and Mary can get married thanks to Garth's help. Dorothea and Ladislaw move to London, where he starts a thriving career in politics.
Having traversed the lives and experiences of Middlemarch's diverse characters, we emerge with a profound understanding of human nature and the inevitability of change. As we have seen, characters like Dorothea, Lydgate, and Fred must each confront the reality of their choices and adapt to the consequences. Through their stories, George Eliot demonstrates the interplay of ambition, love, and societal pressures, leaving the reader with a deep appreciation for the fragile balance each person must find in their own life. As we reach the end of this enthralling journey, the complex and nuanced portrayal of human life in Middlemarch leaves us with the enduring message that happiness can often be found by challenging societal norms and embracing our true desires.